Okay, so I'm back now, and now I'm going to go to the next point, which is we're going to be starting point 2 right now, and that is there's four primary topics on point 2, which is relationships, my relationships, and a little bit about like relationships in general, marriage, my marriages, and a little on marriage in general. But I'm not going to get like too much into marriage in general because that's its own topic. So I'm really right now going to specifically talk about specific marriages, mine and just a couple others. But marriage in general, there's a lot to that. So that's going to be its own subject all on its own. Then I'm going to talk more about the son I'm supposed to have. And then the virginity. So those, the virginity too, that's also, I included a lot of that when I wrote about Virgo a while ago. But I didn't share everything on virginity. So, again, just like marriage, that's another topic all on its own in general. So that's going to have its own, its own, subject matter. So, I'm just going to I'm going to talk, this is more specifically that has to do with me because I'm doing this right now more than a lot of general things because like I said, I just want to also just clear the air on a lot of things and clear up a lot of rumors when it comes to me right now specifically and some other people. But again, there's, I'm really going to be geared more towards me and my life and right now because I just want people to actually know the facts about me first before, I get into really anything else because, I think it's fair. That's actually part of why, I was instructed to be an open book because first of all, this is another thing I want to clear up. Like, and a lot, again, using Christianity as a reference. Again, I use Christianity as a reference point a lot of times because it's such a popular belief in religion. Plus, there are a lot, like I said, there's a lot of beliefs around the world, a lot of different religions around the world, but Christianity specifically, not just Christianity, but any religions that follow the Bible, it's really significant because of where that was originally created. Not where, but how it was originally created and why it was originally created. So, and just the history behind Christianity, which I will get, well, not just Christianity, but just the Bible specifically. So I'm going to get like more, again, just like marriage and virginity, Christianity, well, not, like I said, not just Christianity, but the Bible itself, it's its own subject matter. So, I will devote that will get its own subject matter, the Bible specifically, but because it's very relevant because of why it was, the origin of its creation, why it was created, is very relevant. So it's not really where it was created, it's more so why that specific belief system was created. Like I said, Christianity is not the only religion that follows the Bible. That's also Jehovah's Witness, like I said, Catholics, I believe Anglican, they follow that as well, I believe. Roman Catholic, well, that's the same as Catholic. So, yeah, pretty much the same. So, but again, that's its own subject matter, the Bible. And I will get to that because it's very relevant. But, so, like I said, I'm just going to be gearing a lot of things towards myself and my life right now, just so people can kind of get to know me and understand who I really am. Get the facts. We need to start stating facts. We have to start stating facts. I've been stating facts, but we really have to state facts now, because there's a lot of too many rumors, too many things that are incorrect information, and I just need to get people to know the truth, first when it comes to me, because that, again, that was one of the reasons. I'm sorry, I got off my train of thought. But yeah, I used the Bible as a reference. I started talking about that again because in the Bible, it does state that, the Savior is going to, they portray the Savior to be this perfect person. They say it was going to be a perfect person walking upon the earth. That's what it states. And that is not true. I'm sorry, I'm stating facts right now. It's not true, because the fact of the matter is there is no such thing as perfect. There is no such thing. So it doesn't exist yet. You see what I mean? It did at once, but it doesn't exist anymore. So that is the reason, that's a big reason. You can't have someone perfect if perfect doesn't exist. So that is not true. The Savior, that's not going to be someone perfect. Obviously, I'm not perfect, right? So I don't want people to, look at me, oh, she's, that's because people look at a lot of past things I've done in my life, a lot of, things in my life, and they're like, how could she be the Savior? She's not perfect. And, they're expecting some librarian, bookworm, So, it's like, just a perfect person, basically. So it's like, that is not true. And, part of the reason I was instructed to do a confession, I was actually going to post my confession after I wrote it. I was going to post the confession. It was very detailed and personal information in there. But like I said, I left the confession that I've written out along with some other writings. It left in a supermarket. It was left. So basically I was told to write a confession, because that was me. That didn't have anything to really do with anyone else but me and Ra, because I had to confess my sins to God, because the point of a confession is to see if God already knows what you've done, everything you've done in your life. He knows that. But the point is, he wants a confession at some point, because he wants to know, he wants to see if you're going to lie to him about what you have done. He already knows. Now, when you're writing a confession, he wants to see, are you lying? Are you going to lie about what you've done, in your life, all your wrongdoings, basically. That's what the confession is confessing all your wrongdoings. So, that has nothing to do with anyone else but you and God. So when you do a confession, that's just you confessing your wrongdoings to God, because he already knows what you've done wrong in your life, but he just wants to test you. It's a test, really, your confession. He wants to see if you're going to lie about what you've done wrong, and you know what you've done wrong, so it's, deep in your heart what you've done wrong. So that's what the basis of a confession really is. So part of why I was instructed to do the confession, I was also instructed to stop lying immediately, but that was for many reasons. But part of those reasons, a primary part of the reasons, was because I had to be an open book. So I had to be able to relate to people, because a lot of the things that I have went through in my life, other people have gone through similar things and the same things. Not everyone's life is not completely the same, but there are experiences with many people that, a lot of people have gone through, some of the same experiences, or similar. So, I had to be able to show that, I make mistakes too. We all make mistakes. You know, no one's perfect. I had to be able to relate to everyone. So, well, not every, you know, I had to be able to be relatable. Like, you know, because perfection, it just doesn't exist. So, that's part of that. So, okay, I'm done with that. But now I'm just going to get right into the points. Okay, the first point would be relationships. So, basically, relationships, I've had a lot of relationships with different people, and I've had a lot of different kinds of relationships with different people. A lot of those relationships were with people who are in the public, you know, public people, celebrities, or, you know, people like that. And I've also had a lot of relationships with people that are not public and, you know, non-celebrity. Non-public people. So, you know, there's different kind of relationships, first of all. You know, there's sexual relationships, there's emotional relationships, there's working relationships, business relationships, there's friendships, there's romantic relationships, there's marriages, there's all kind of relationships. So I've had a lot of relationships with people, as many other people have. So, first of all, I just want to start with friendships. I'll start with friendships. As I mentioned the Four Corners. Actually, I don't know if I should save that till I get to the four. Okay, well, actually, I have on here, I have the Four Corners being included in another point. But I will skim over it a little bit. But I kind of already started talking about the Four Corners already. But I have not gone into, you know, really, really great detail. I have, but I haven't. There's a lot I have not shared on the Four Corners. So, actually, there's a fifth, too. So, I'll get to that as well. So, basically, the Four Corners, as I stated previously, would be myself, K. Michelle, Kim Kardashian, and Lil Kim, or Kimberly Jones. So those would be the Four Corners. And then, as I just mentioned, there is a fifth. There's always a fifth. And the fifth would be Rihanna. So basically, the Four Corners, as I stated how, you know, really I've done a lot of talking about the Four Corners, mostly in within the life cycle, the first life cycle, of kind of what happened during the first life cycle. I haven't really gotten in much into the other life cycles with the Four Corners and just everything we kind of went through. I haven't gone into a lot of detail, and I'm not going to get really, really, really detailed on the Four Corners until I get to that specific point, because the Four Corners, five corners, they're actually, you know, it's another, again, it's its own subject on its own. So I'm just going to kind of skim a little bit over it and give just a little more information than I may have shared through the writings. So, like I said, the first of the 4 Corners, they were really great. We were really, you know, great friends, and we're connected spiritually in a way that I'll tell you soon. We were just really the best of friends, like I said. And, you know, we went through ups and downs. We went through arguments and bad times and good times, just like any other relationship. So throughout all the life cycles, and, you know, and just, you know, different experiences, you know, affect friendships. You know, different things happen. So, you know, a friendship, trying to keep a successful friendship is just as difficult as a relationship, a romantic relationship, or a marriage. So, you know, it's work. A friendship is work, just like I said, it's like a romantic relationship. So, basically, the first one, like I said, the first that I met, originally I thought the first that I met was Kim Kardashian, and that is not true. That's not the first four corner I met. Actually, the first first of the four corners I met was Little Kim, Kimberly Jones. So that's the first one I actually met because basically, as I stated, I would have been younger than I actually have to look up her age and year of birth because I don't actually know her age. So that would be similar to what it is in this life cycle, what it was in the first life cycle. So all I know is she is I'm a little younger than her. So I would have been younger than her. We met as children, and I would have most likely been a baby when we met. She would have been, depending on what her age is, approximately or the same. It could be exactly the same or approximately however many years older she is than me would have been her age when she met me. And I would have been a baby when we met, most likely, because that's how it usually happened. As I stated, she was indeed, she was the daughter of one of the most famous, successful, most prestigious beekeepers and honey producers within ancient Egypt. So like I said, honey was a very important product, and it still is. Honey is used in many, many, many things, and it was used in many, many things in ancient times as well. And I stated some of the things that's used in, medicinal needs, culinary, health and beauty. Honey was used as a hair conditioner. Honey was used as a hair conditioner in ancient times, and it's used in a lot of beauty products, lotions, all kind of beauty products, soaps, you name it. All kind of things. Honey is very used in a lot of culinary. So it's just a very widely used product. So it was very important, as I stated, in ancient times as well as now. So she was the daughter of a famous beekeeper within Egypt. And basically, those people of that caliber, they were very important because, like I said, the products were very important. And bees, each and every animal and creature were extremely important within ancient Egypt. Each and every animal and creature species was very important for different reasons. So bees were very important because they were, again, they were a very important animal. They did a lot of things. They produced honey. They produced what else? I'm sorry, I can't think of everything they did, but they did a lot of things. I actually have to look that up because bees do a lot more than produce honey, so they can do more than that. But basically, yeah. So they would have been her father, Kimberly Jones' father, the famous beekeeper, would have been his title actually would have been a beekeeper in ancient times. His title would have been the god of bees and honey. You basically, whatever you contributed, that would have been your title. So he would have been something like, the god of honey bees and honey, or something along those lines would have been his actual title. Because he would have been one of the best in that. Not the only people that produced that product, but basically pretty much the best, one of the best. So basically, they would have been very big status symbols in ancient Egypt for that reason. So basically, people of great status within ancient Egypt and other parts all over the world. There was people of great status all over the world. they would have been, friends of Ra, most likely. They would have, been, just like now, so a lot of, people of status, they tend to hang around each other and befriend each other. And so that's what went on in, I'm sorry, that's what went on in ancient times as well. So, her father would have been great friends with Ra. So this is how I would have met Kimberly Jones originally, because, many people, there were parties at the palace, there were meetings at the palace, in regards to all various things throughout the kingdom. There were all kinds of gatherings and events and all kinds of things in the palace. So, a lot of people would travel to the palace for various reasons, So at this time, obviously being a baby, I wasn't allowed outside of palace walls. So I would have met her as a baby with her father bringing her to the palace, And again, the children would play together, play dates and whatnot like that. So, a lot of the children, just like now, they would have befriended each other and met and whatnot. So, so basically we befriended each other as I was a baby, and she was a few years older than me. I'm not sure exactly how I have to look that up, but so this is how we would have met. So, immediately with me being younger than her, she immediately she took on like almost like a big sister type of role. We were friends, but she was older, so it was like she took on kind of like a protective, type of role in my life. So, that's how we originally met, and then just different, situations and circumstances happen in each of our lives. So that's really what, caused a lot of changes and different things to change within our lives. So we were childhood friends. As I grew up and got older and wasn't a baby anymore, there were times I was able to travel to different places outside of palace walls. Not often, but, one of my favorite places was to go to her residence, where she stayed with her father, their estate, because, that's how it worked. Like, whatever someone sold or whatever they did, a lot of times you could travel to their residence and buy those things. You could travel to his property and buy honey products and buy honey and buy, various honey products. So as I stated, one of my favorite snacks, and which was not just my favorite snack, but it was a very popular treat throughout ancient times, and it was fresh honeycombs. Even adults, you would see people, eating honey off of fresh honeycombs. Fresh honey, it was delicious. So that was one of my, and it also was a treat because it gave you energy as well because of the sugar if you needed something like that. So one of my favorite places to travel that I was allowed to travel to, because again, I couldn't go everywhere, but one of my favorite places to travel to, if I was allowed off of palace grounds, was to their estate to get a fresh honeycomb. And I would go over there, we would play, and I wasn't allowed very many places, but that was one of the places I was allowed to go. My father, Ra, he knew how much I liked honeycombs, and all the children did, and adults. It was a very popular treat in ancient times for many people. So I would travel there, we would play at her estate, we would get honey products, and that's what her name was. Like I said, she was nicknamed the honey girl. She was nicknamed the honey girl. She was pretty much the princess of the honey kingdom, really, because that's what she was. Her father was the best at that specific thing. Not the only, but one of the best. So, basically, that's how we met. And then, circumstances happened throughout our lives. Um, basically, what happened with me was, I said what happened with me as I got to be 14, and once I got my task outside of palace walls, we sort of kind of lost touch throughout some of my childhood years, because, she was a little older than me, so she was hanging out with people her own age. Because at some point, I was kind of like, I was younger than her, so I was like, a little tag along, we'll say. I tagged along a lot, with her. But I was younger, and she had her friends that were her age, and I was kind of like a tag along sometimes, like, you know what I mean, annoying little something tagging along, wanting to go with them and things like that. And Kim Kardashian, my friendship with her kind of changed my friendship a little bit with Kimberly Jones, because Kim Kardashian, as I stated, she was an Arabian princess. She was heiress to the entire Arabian kingdom. They were the overseers, the Kardashians in ancient times. So basically, my friendship with Kim K really kind of changed my friendship with Kimberly Jones, because what happened was, I would get on Kimberly Jones. I would get on her nerves a little bit. Not really, but it was kind of, like I said, I was younger. I was kind of like a tag-along situation sometimes. They were into other things, and I was younger, so it was like, kind of like, okay, leave me alone, go, type of thing. It wasn't like that, but it was kind of like that. I couldn't go and do everything they could do either, being that I was an Egyptian princess. I couldn't leave the palace that way. I didn't have the freedom she had as a child or as a young adult. So, we kind of lost, we didn't lose touch, but we kind of did basically lose touch, because my friendship with Kim K, it kind of changed my relationship with Little Kim, because basically Kim K was a little more around my age. Sorry, hold on, I'm just trying to get comfortable. Okay. Kim K was just a little bit more around my age. Honestly, I just had a little, as a child, I had more in common with Kim K than I did with Lil Kim at the time as being a child. So Kim K also was a few years older than me, but closer in age to me, I believe, closer in age to me than Lil Kim would have been. So, basically, once I got a little bit older, as I said, many of the monarchs and many of the deities, and, they would introduce their children, and, there would be play dates. So, a lot of times you are meeting people, other, children and other children of monarchs as a child, because the monarchs would hang with each other, and so with their children and whatnot, and just people of great status. So what happened was, Kimberly Jones, she just had a lot of more freedom than I had, being that I was I was the Egyptian princess, so I couldn't go do what they were doing, and plus she was, there was a small gap in our age, so they were doing things I wasn't doing, and, well, not, bad things at this time, but you know what I mean. They were into things that, a younger person, wouldn't be into, at certain ages you're into certain things. And plus, I just couldn't go anyway. I was stuck in the palace most of the time. So, I really, as a child, had more in common with Kim K, being that she was also a princess, an Arabian princess, an overseer to the heiress to the Arabian kingdom. We just had a lot more in common. Some of those things I've already stated. We were closer in age. We both couldn't do much, go outside of the palace. We both were not allowed outside of the palace walls much. We both just pretty much had a similar life. Everything was, decided for us for the most part. No one could touch us. No one could touch us. That was tradition and it was customary and it was for a reason. So, you know, we had a lot in common. We were lonely, bored. We were tired of that life, you know, because we longed for, you know, just to experience some things outside of palace walls, you know, but again, you know, as heiresses and princesses to such kingdoms, you know, we connected that way because, you know, there were many monarchs and many deities and many princesses throughout the whole world, you know, and I had friendships with a lot of them, but Kim K was the one heiress, the one princess out of all the monarchs that I had the closest relationship with, out of all the other princesses and heiresses, young heiresses. So we had the closest relationship. Like I said, I had a lion, she had a tiger, and we got those animals from birth. So, you know, we were, you know, it was, or the lion, her tiger, my lion, they were friends, you know, they would play, and, you know, so it was like, we connected that way because of what we had a lot in common. I would travel to her kingdom, a lot, because that's one of the places I was allowed to go. See, like, I was not allowed to go very many places, you know, but I was allowed to travel. As I stated, I would travel to her kingdom, and spend time there, you know, in her palace. And, you know, once I would get there, obviously, we still couldn't do anything. We couldn't leave her palace, you know, but there were times I would stay there weeks at a time because, you know, we would have a lot of fun. We really would have a lot of fun. And, you know, also, as I stated, the traveling times during ancient times were not as quick as they are now. So, you know, if you're traveling, there were different ways of traveling through ancient times. A lot of it was by camel, by different animals, by ships, boats, you know what I mean? So it was time consuming, the traveling, many in ancient times, more so than it is now. So, you know, I would spend weeks at a time at her palace. She would travel to Egypt and spend weeks at a time at my palace. But, you know, those were, we could only go so many places. We couldn't go anywhere. She could come to my palace. I could go to hers, you know, a few other places. But even when we went to each other's palaces and spent time, we couldn't leave. Anyway, we were stuck. No matter what palace we were in, we were stuck in there. They wouldn't let us go outside of palace walls. So, you know, being that we developed this great friendship, and, you know, throughout my childhood, so this really kind of like I said, it kind of not messed up, but it just distanced my relationship with Kimberly Jones as a child because, like I stated, we had just had more in common and we could see each other more because, again, Kimberly Jones, she was not technically a monarch. She was someone of great status, but she was not technically a monarch in ancient times. So, again, she had more freedom. Me and Kim K, we were kind of in the same boat, you know, basically. So it was like we could spend more time with each other because we would be in the palaces, you know, basically just not locked in, but, you know, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't leave, really, you know, off of palace grounds. So we were able to spend more time with each other that way because of those reasons. So as I stated, you know, there were times we would sneak out the palace together. If she would come to my palace or if I would go to hers, there were times we would sneak out and, you know, because it was just like I said, you cannot just lock a child up in the house. You can't lock a child up because they're just going to want to go more. You know, they're going to want to do it. They're going to want to sneak out more. You know, you can't just keep a child locked up, at your daughters or sons, you know, just any children just locked up for, you know, not allowed to do anything, not allowed to go anywhere, you know what I mean? Because they're going to want that more. They're going to want to rebel more. They're going to want to, you know, do more that way, because they're now, they don't, they're more, even more curious now. So, we would sneak out, a few times, and, usually when we get caught, we would try to do disguises, like, cause it was pretty hilarious, but, we wouldn't be out for long very much. Most of the time, we would get caught usually, and we would have to be taken back to the palace immediately. But, while sometimes we didn't get caught as quickly, so, we would get to see, like, outside of palace walls, and it was exciting because there was a marketplaces, there was entertainment, there were entertainers, there were performers, there's a whole new world outside of palace walls. So, we were excited for the little bit of time we spent outside of the palace walls. It was exciting to us because we weren't used to that. But we didn't know how dangerous it was at the time to do that as, young heiresses to such big kingdoms and such prestigious kingdoms. It was very dangerous to do that. But, is when you're young like that, you don't really realize the dangers of different things. So, it's a reason we weren't able to go off of palace grounds that way, just like that. There were many reasons. So, at the time we just didn't really see that. We just knew we were tired we were bored. We wanted to see what else was out there. So, okay, now I'm getting into too much detail because I really didn't mean to. Okay, because the Four Corners really had their own time slot, well, their own subject matter. So, but basically, okay, yeah. So that's what happened, and then, like I stated, as we got older, once I got the task outside of palace walls, which was a big deal, like it literally was huge. It was huge because that is the first time a princess of any kingdom, because this was not just mine and her kingdoms where the princesses and princes weren't allowed off, especially the princesses though, weren't allowed off outside of palace grounds. It was customary and it was tradition and it was for a reason. But me getting a task like that outside of palace walls was really big news and really big all over the world, because that was really the first time a princess got to spend that much time outside of palace walls. And a lot of people, like I said, I begged Ra for the position. Honestly, I didn't know what it entailed, obviously, but I just knew I wanted to spend more time outside of palace walls, and that's what that position meant. So, I begged and pleaded, and, he said no for a long time, but it was like, I was destined for the position after a while. I was destined for the position, but he didn't feel I was ready, because it's a lot more to that, and I'll get into that. But, I really begged him to let me do it, because he would tell me, what my position was, and, I would, have to do that soon. But, I was like, he told me a little bit about it. So what I did know is that it's outside of palace walls. I get to spend time outside. That's all I was worried about. So, I begged and pleaded for the position, and he finally agreed. And it was a big controversy because people did not agree, because they were just like, she's not ready. It was dangerous. It was a lot. I had escorts and people that were out. I didn't just go. I was never just allowed to go out alone to do the task. But it was like, it was just a very big controversy because a lot of people didn't agree with it. And then a lot of people were like, okay, let's see how this works, but it was really against tradition. But there was a reason for it also. So, like I stated, everything went fine at first. And then basically, that took time away from my friendship with Kim K, because she did not have a position outside of palace walls. Her parents would not allow it. She tried to beg her parents to do it as well. and they would not agree. And that's really, the smart thing to do, because, I said what happened with me. But, I had to do that. That was my destiny. I just got into that a little sooner than I should. But I wasn't ready for it. But basically, that's what got me ready, because you're forced to be ready for it, So, basically, yeah, so now I'm not spending as much time with her because I'm excited about being outside of Palace walls, like I said. So, I wasn't going over to travel to her palace as much anymore. She would try to come over my place, and I wouldn't. I was like, I'm going to go do my task, because she wasn't going to be allowed to come out and do the task with me and whatnot. So, really put a damper on our friendship. So, like I said, relationships in general, they just, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, different things can cause issues in it, and it's just like, there were things I could have done differently to maintain the friendship and do the task. Because like I said, there were a lot of time, most of it consisted of me looking for him, at first. So, there were times where I was just out, just enjoying some of the entertainment, or just out spending time exploring Egypt and whatnot. But, I was excited about that. But there were times where I could have just, went and spent time with her instead of doing that, because she was lonely. Now it was like we were best friends. We connected in such a deep way because of all we had in common. And all of a sudden, we don't have so much in common. We still have a lot in common, but now the freedom is different. So, she was lonely because she couldn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? And so now I'm just out and about, and, she's in her palace, so it was like it caused a lot of issues in the friendship, because she was a little envious of the freedom that I now had. I was just not really, I kind of knew that, but I was just a little selfish, because like I said, this was very exciting to me, because this is the first time I got to do something like that. So she was a little envious of the freedom. She was, I would tell her about, I didn't just completely stop spending time with her. We would spend time still at the beginning of the task more. Then as time went on, we start spending less and less time. But, I would tell her about some of the things I would see and things I were doing. And, she was happy for me, but it was still bittersweet for her, because she didn't get to, what I mean? She had to stay on palace grounds. So it just caused a lot of issues in the friendship. And, she felt abandoned as well. And I own that. I own that. I was 14 at the time I received the task. So, I own that. I can totally own that. She felt abandoned because, like I said, me and her, she was the monarch heiress that I connected with the most, and the same was with her. She connected with me the most out of all the princesses throughout the world. So, she felt abandoned, and I own that, because that is what I did, because I was so distracted and focused on all my new experiences. So when I would spend time with her, we would do a lot of the same things we always did. It wasn't, so that was boring to me now, the things that we did. I just yearned to go outside of palace walls anytime I could do it. So, she felt abandoned, and she was, and really that's what I did on, not even knowing or realizing. So that's pretty much what happened with the friendship. And, as I stated, I also, K. Michelle, I'll get more in detail into the four corners when I get to their specific point, you know what I mean? Because that's a whole general topic. 5 corners, the 5, so I will explain more of that too. So basically, what am I at? Oh, I'm at 44 minutes. So I'm going to stop this at an hour because I'm going to do the videos an hour at a time. So basically, and then I'll continue. Okay, K. Michelle. So, okay, now K. Michelle, I didn't talk a lot about her. I skimmed on, how we met, but really in general, I haven't done a lot of talking or detail on my friendship with K. Michelle. So as I stated, many of the people of high status and the monarchs, their children were friends. So as I stated, Memphis, Mickey Wright, which is his name, his father would have been great friends with Ra. So Mickey Wright's Memphis, his father was given the responsibility, his ancestry. His father would have most likely been his father. They were given the great responsibility of, as I stated, ruling over the southwestern, a city southwest of Cairo, Egypt, is called Memphis, Egypt. So Mickey Wright's father would have been given the great responsibility, a friend of Ra, someone trusted. He would have been someone of great importance, Mickey Wright's father, for him to be trusted with such a responsibility. So that's what happened. And Memphis eventually inherited that kingdom, that responsibility. I would have met Memphis as a child. And I also would have, like I stated, all the children would meet, boys and princes and princesses, all the children of great status and whatnot. They would usually meet as children. So I would have also met Mickey Wright as when he was a child. I can't remember his age. I can't remember if he's older or younger. I think he might be like 1 year older than me. So we would have met as children as well. And K. Michelle as well, I would have met her as, she's a few years younger than me. So she would have been a baby when I met. I would have been a few years older than her when we met. And they would have been in an arranged marriage. K. Michelle and Mickey Wright would have been in an arranged marriage. So, if you were in a legit arranged marriage, just like on the line, and that's another subject I'll get into when I talk about marriage. I'll skim more on the arranged marriages and things like that, because I'm also in an arranged marriage, as I stated, and that was very traditional and customary. So you would meet as children, you and your arranged marriage, and you would develop a friendship. That was the point of that. We would play in groups, like as children do, and you just knew who you were going to get married to from a young age. And you would be introduced initially with your arranged marriage as a child. You would develop a friendship, because that's what it is as children. When you're so young, you're not thinking romantic thing. Well, I'm not going to say that, but it's more so a friendship. It's like, oh, cooties, you know how children are. So it wasn't very romantic. It wasn't romantic, it was, the point of that was to develop a friendship first with whoever you were to be married to. And then at a certain point in your life, you were not allowed to see each other. So you were introduced as children to get to hopefully develop a friendship, and then after a while you were not permitted to see each other until either right before the wedding, which would have been which would have been your just a prior meeting before the wedding, or sometimes you didn't see each other again until the actual wedding day at the altar. So you were walking down the aisle sometimes, and you haven't seen them in so long, but it was usually a good thing, because you would smile, and because this was your friend, that your best friend, it was intended to be your childhood best friend, one of your childhood best friends, your arranged marriage. So, you walk in, you finally get to see them again after so much, and then you get to hear stuff about them, and, so it's not like they're a total stranger. You hear things about them, they tell you things about your soon-to-be spouse and whatnot. So, you got excited about it, but, when you finally got to see each other again after so long, because it would be years at some point where you couldn't see each other, and it was a nice occasion because you were excited and happy to see each other. So, basically that's how I'll talk more about the arranged marriages more in detail soon. So yes, K. Michelle and Mickey Wright would have been in an arranged marriage, and I would have met K. Michelle when she was a baby, and I would have been a few years older than her. So, on play dates and whatnot. So, yes, they ended up becoming married, and eventually Memphis inherited the responsibility of ruling over, well, see, I don't like that word, ruling. That's not the word we use, reigning over Memphis. My father and I, my sister Sakmet, and my mother Isis, we resided in Cairo, Egypt, which would have been the Mecca of Egypt. Cairo is where Ra and myself and my family resided. So Memphis, it would have been a great responsibility. So his father, Mickey Wright's father, would have been someone of great importance within ancient Egypt, and I need to do a little more investigations on who actually Mickey Wright's father was and who was he of such great status. I haven't done that. So for him to even get the responsibility of ruling over Memphis, he had to be someone of great status and prestige. So basically, and trust. So he had to be trusted. So so that's what happened. So K. Michelle, I met her when she was a baby. Now, see, the thing with me and K. Michelle was kind of a similar thing with myself and Kimberly Jones, because all four of us at some point when we were younger would have known each other. Even all four of us would have known each other and been friends as children at some point, even though there were the age gaps. So basically, K. Michelle would have been kind of my little tag along. That's what she was. She was kind of like, I was not much older than her, but different ages, you're into different things. You know what I mean? Different interests. So she couldn't do everything I could, and it was kind of similar situation. But she was once she got older, she was very opinionated at a young age. So, she was a firecracker. She had an opinion, and she was going to say it, even though she was the youngest out of all of us. So she was the baby of the Four Corners. Actually, I have to do some research on that, because I have to research Rihanna's age. I have to research K. Michelle's age, just to see who's the youngest out of the five corners. It's five. And I'll explain that. Basically, I'm just not sure as to who's the youngest it's either Rihanna or K. Michelle that would be the youngest. I have to look up their ages. So basically, Rihanna, it's relevant, because that would dictate who I met first, whether it was Rihanna or K. Michelle. So that's just a small detail I can look up. But basically, I'm just going to go, the thing of why I'm saying K. Michelle, and I initially started off with K. Michelle, Kim K, and Lil Kim being in the Four Corners, is because it was four of us first, and then we added Rihanna was the last in the Four Corners, or Five Corners, but depending on age, I may have met Rihanna first. So depending on who's older between Rihanna and K Michelle would dictate who I met first, and but basically, as far as the 5 corners go, which create a star, um, Rihanna would have been the last added to the 5 corners. That I do know for a fact. But who I met first is dictated upon their ages. So K Michelle, yes, I met her as a child. We were all friends as a child. I have to do actually some more research on K Michelle's personal life, because it's relevant, because for K Michelle to be in an arranged marriage with Memphis, she would have came from a family of great prestige. So you see, her parents would have been someone in ancient Egypt of great prestige, for her to be in an arranged marriage with the heir to Memphis. So yes, so we were all friends, and really, like as I stated, the life cycles will be similar, but just not exactly the same. So K Michelle, I do know, was an entertainer in ancient times, a singer, as she is now. You know, there was just different kinds of, that would have been like one of her primary talents, singing. And, you know, we all had many positions and many things we did, but there was usually primary things. But literally, for her to be, it would have been more than an entertainer. She would have had to be from a family of great prestige. So, you know, I just have to do some research on her family to see what her family would have been in ancient times. So, you know, we all would have been friends as children. And basically, it would have been K Michelle, Kimberly Jones, Kim K. We would have been closest, the 4 of us. Closest. We were closer together than, we were great friends, more so with each other than any other people at that time. And then eventually Rihanna was added to the 5th. So this actually leads me to believe Rihanna may be I think Rihanna may be younger than K Michelle. Is that true? Well, that's something I gotta look up. Is relevant. But basically, oh, 1 second. Hold on, I'm ending this.